The Victorian farm was a machine caught between two eras. On one side stood the ancient, muscle-powered crafts that had fed Britain for 1,000 years. On the other was the dawn of industrial mass production, a system that demanded relentless output or delivered economic ruin. This project is not a lifestyle choice. It is a year-long diagnostic of that unforgiving transition. The laboratory is the Acton Scott estate, a farm frozen in the 1880s, complete with a dilapidated cottage and abandoned machinery. The objective is simple: make this system operational and profitable, using only the technology and resources available at the time. This is a test of mechanical and economic viability. The central challenge is the shift from localized craft to the cold logic of industrial output, where every action is governed by a brutal calculation. The immense physical cost of manual labor must be balanced against the hard necessity of generating a surplus. For the Victorian farmer, there was no safety net. The only alternative to a productive farm was the workhouse. Over the next 12 months, every component of this agricultural machine will be stripped down, repaired, and tested to its limits. This is an engineering assessment of a survival engine. Before any farming can begin, the infrastructure has to work. The cottage has been uninhabited for 50 years. Structurally, it is sound, but its core systems are completely offline. The immediate priority is the coal range. It is not simply a cooker, it is the thermal engine of the house, responsible for cooking, hot water, and heat. The existing unit is beyond repair, forcing a complete overhaul. Investigation reveals a larger bricked-up fireplace, the original heart of the cottage. The decision is made to install a new range there, but doing so means tearing through heavy brickwork. The chimney presents an even greater problem. It is packed with rubble and, more dangerously, capped with a large stone that once served a different fireplace upstairs. That stone is now a structural hazard, hanging precariously above the blocked flue until it can be forced down from the bedroom above. Clearing the blockage reveals the original engineering. A tapered flue designed to create a powerful upward draft. And that draft is critical. A weak draw means the coal will not burn hot enough. Instead, poisonous, sulfur-heavy smoke will collect inside the room rather than being carried safely outside. The entire system, from air intake to flue exit, has to function properly. Otherwise, the house remains uninhabitable. While the cottage undergoes these structural repairs, the team inventories the farm's working hardware. The tool loft, untouched for decades, contains a complete set of period-accurate equipment. This is no museum collection. These tools are the farm's primary interface with the land. Among the discoveries are a castrating knife, a three-legged milking stool, and sealed bottles of 19th-century horse medication. One particularly important find is a stirrup pump. Its seals have failed, but the machine is still repairable. Once stripped down and fixed, it is immediately put to work, dampening the kitchen walls before plastering. It is a small but revealing example of the Victorian imperative to repair, maintain, and reuse every available tool. Nothing can simply be replaced. The first phase is mechanical triage. The farm cannot function until its central power plant, the range, is brought back online. The discovery of a working tool set is a significant asset, but the structural deficit of the cottage remains the overriding liability. That has to be corrected before any real agricultural work can begin. With the cottage's core systems under repair, attention turns to the farm's primary economic engine, 3 acres of arable land. This field is not intended for subsistence. It must produce a cash crop of wheat or barley. The first mechanical operation is to plough the grass under, returning the field to bare earth for sowing. Failure here is not an option. A failed crop means financial ruin, and potentially the workhouse. The tool for this job is not a simple wooden plough. It is a piece of industrial hardware, the Ransomes iron plough. Unlike older ploughs produced in local workshops, the Ransomes was a mass-produced machine, standardized for use across Britain. Its key advantage was precision. By maintaining a consistent depth, it created a uniform seedbed and directly improved crop yields. But precision came at a cost. Operating the plough required constant fine-tuning, with levers adjusted by fractions of an inch. And the field immediately fought back. The dry, stony Shropshire soil caused the ploughshare to strike rocks, kicking the implement out of the ground and breaking the furrow. Instead of turning over smoothly, the dry earth fractured into hard clods, compromising the quality of the ploughing. The machine was precise, the land was not. After harrowing the clods, the next stage of industrial agriculture is the seed drill. This machine replaced the imprecise art of broadcasting seed by hand, where uneven depth could lead to staggered germination and maturity. The drill is effectively a precision instrument. A hopper feeds grain into revolving cups, which deposit seeds through tubes into the furrow at a consistent depth. The entire process becomes standardized. But once again, the machine's success depends on forces beyond the machine itself. Rain transforms the soil into heavy, sticky mud, making it almost impossible for the horses to pull the drill. The operation grinds to a halt, creating a critical delay during the narrow autumn sowing window. This is the central contradiction of mechanized Victorian farming. The iron plough and seed drill promise unprecedented control, turning agriculture into something closer to a predictable industrial process. Yet the machines are highly sensitive to the environment around them. The hard ground fights the plough's precision. The rain stops the seed drill completely. Even the best technology of the age cannot control the soil beneath it or the weather above it. The Victorian farmer may have entered the industrial age, but success still hangs by a thread. Nature holds the final veto, and getting the crop into the ground is only the beginning. Keeping food edible through the winter requires an entirely different industrial process. The Victorian kitchen is not a domestic sanctuary. It is a chemical processing plant. Foraged seasonal yields, such as damsons and crab apples, have a shelf life measured in days. To prevent the loss of valuable calories, these foods must be chemically stabilized. Pickling and chutney production rely on high concentrations of vinegar, salt, and imported spices, creating an acidic environment hostile to bacterial decay. It is not culinary luxury. It is calculated logistical necessity. Even the sealing of the jars depends on raw biological mechanics. Stretched pig bladders shrink as they dry, forming an airtight, watertight barrier against oxygen and airborne contamination. Liquid yields require equally demanding mechanical intervention. Windfall apples are processed into cider through a two-stage extraction system. First, the raw fruit is fed into a horse-drawn stone mill, crushing it into a coarse, porridge-like pulp. That pulp is then loaded onto hair mats, stacked into a cheese, and subjected to immense physical pressure beneath a heavy beam press. The objective is maximum fluid extraction. Every drop matters. The resulting juice is left to ferment, converting its sugars into alcohol and stabilizing the liquid for long-term storage. But cider is more than a drink. It is an economic asset. During the crucial harvest months, it can function as a form of liquid currency, helping secure the manual labor required to bring in the crops. This localized processing, however, depends on a much larger industrial infrastructure. The canal network. The heavy coal needed to fire the kitchen range and boil down preserves could not be transported efficiently by horse and cart. Canals delivered bulk fuel directly into rural areas, effectively powering the farm's internal processing plant. But their importance went far beyond fuel. Reliable canal transport fundamentally altered agricultural economics. With dependable access to urban markets, farms could move beyond pure subsistence and specialize in high-yield outputs such as dairy or specific crops. The farm was no longer an isolated unit. It was connected to an industrial network. The larder, therefore, is not merely a storeroom. It is the logistical bridge between the raw output of the fields and the economic survival of the estate, fully integrated into the wider machinery of 19th century Britain. The Victorian agricultural machine is now operational, but its margins remain razor-thin. The farm is prepared for the brutal winter cycle through relentless physical labor and mechanical intervention. The range is fired, the larder is chemically stabilized, the arable fields are sown, yet nothing is guaranteed. For the 19th century farmer, the transition to industrial efficiency was a ruthless binary. Generate a profitable yield, or face the crushing poverty of the workhouse. The mechanisms of survival are finally in place. But nature still holds the final veto. The past reveals the unforgiving mechanics behind modern food production. History teaches us, if we listen,